The first interim payment for CLECO policyholders starts at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning and runs until next Wednesday, April 6th at the Holy Cross Parish Hall on Soldier Road.
A release by CLECO Bahamas Limited notes that people eligible include those that have executive flexible premium annuities, surrendered pension policies, surrendered life insurance policies, surrendered death benefits, unpaid medical claims, endowment policies, and college education plan annuities. Also included in that are people with CLECO staff claims.
Well, according to that release, individuals with active or in-force insurance and pension policies are not eligible. CLECO advises that policyholders coming to collect should come with a valid passport or voter's card, in addition to a driver's license, national insurance card, and a government-issued employer ID.
This will be the first payout for policyholders who have been in limbo since CLECO went into liquidation in 2009. An estimated $60 million will be paid out to an estimated 4,000 people. The International Monetary Fund has made certain recommendations for government to adopt measures to reduce expenditure.
Well, one of them being less increases in public sector wages and staffing levels because of low productivity. Janae Noel Ferguson discussed this and other recommendations with the Minister of State for Finance, the Honorable Michael Halkitis.
IMF officials recently met with stakeholders of the Bahamian economy, including government ministers, large hotel property owners, the official opposition, and the private sector to examine the financial state of affairs of the Bahamas. It's a process that takes place every year since the financial crisis of 2008. Recommendations were made to government. According to Minister of State for Finance, Michael Halkitis, a number of projections were made.
Our economy is expected to grow only by 1.5% this year. Positive growth, but very low. And they made some observations as to what could stimulate the growth of the economy. And part of it is an increase in productivity. And they made some recommendations as it pertains to training and reforms in the training, so that people, when they get on the job, they can be more productive. And that is something that we realize since the National Training Agency was formed.
Now, Halkitis said that advice is being considered by government to be implemented through various national policies. With a low growth rate of 1.5% and high unemployment numbers, the outlook may seem grim, but the government is looking at ways to jumpstart the economy. A major player in all of this is still the stalled $3.5 billion Bahama resort, now up for sale.
We have to ensure that, for example, the big project at Bahama gets going, do all we can to make sure that it gets going. We need to make it easier for Bahamians to do business. We have to improve our ease of business rankings. We have to reduce red tape in terms of business license and even access to capital. We have to stimulate the private sector, and we have to attract more foreign investments.
IMF officials also cautioned government from increasing public sector wages and hires. There's also the view that the private sector might take the same approach.
It's a balance. We think the private sector is driven by profit. If there's a proposition where any business person can make money, we don't think they will just sit on the sideline. The key is for the government to create that environment where businesses can do well. And part of that is, right back to the public finances to make sure we do things like reduce the deficit, eventually start to pay down our debt, so that the Bahamas is an attractive place to do business.
Now, a resolution was passed by government early this year to receive $33 million from the Inter-American Development Bank for a citizen security program. It's hoped that through the program, jobs will be created, along with other projects in the pipeline to help improve the financial status of the country. Janae Noel Ferguson, ZNS Network News.
Two young men learning their fate today after a jury convicted them earlier for the 2012 contract killing of a 47-year-old man. Fern Carey tells us more.
22-year-old Livingston Woodside sentenced to 40 years behind bars Wednesday for what Justice Indra Charles described as the senseless contract killing of 47-year-old Owen Rose 4 years ago. However, Woodside's sentence was reduced by the 3 years he has already spent on remand. At the same time, Woodside's co-accused, 20-year-old Glenado Johnson, who was just 16 when the crime was committed back in 2012, got 35 years behind bars for his role in the murder. His sentence was also reduced by the 3 years he has already spent on remand. The duo was convicted on May 1st of last year for fatally shooting 47-year-old Owen Rose at his home on Cotto Avenue.
Now, these convicts were facing up to life in prison. However, prosecutors recommended between 45 to 60 years.
Prosecutors had also sought the death penalty for Woodside, who was the shooter. However, Justice Charles took into consideration the fact that Woodside is still young and can be rehabilitated. However, she expressed concern that too many young men aged 30 and under are appearing before the court for serious crimes like murder. She also expressed dismay at what she said is now the trend, where even younger men who are in their teens are now appearing before the court for serious crimes. She noted that the court must send a strong message of deterrence. The convicts will begin serving their sentences immediately. Ewell Johnson appeared on behalf of the Crown. Jairo Mangrer defended Johnson. Fern Carey, CNS Network News.
Prosecutors are seeking the death penalty for 2 men convicted Tuesday night of killing senior immigration officer Shane Gardner and his girlfriend Tishka Brainin 3 years ago in Central Andros. The 3-man, 9-woman jury deliberated for 7 hours before returning a unanimous guilty verdict for the man prosecutors contended was the shooter, Zintworn Duncombe. All of the jurors also agreed that defendant James Johnson was also guilty of killing the couple. At the same time, jurors acquitted defendants Daniel Coakley and Cordero Saunders of murder. However, the panel found that all of the defendants were guilty of kidnapping Gardner and Brainin. They also convicted them of conspiring to rob the couple. Gardner and Brainin's decomposed bodies were discovered deep in the pine forest in Central Andros known as Newbold Farm. Gardner's body was found by wild hog hunters in a makeshift rock grave, while Brainin's body was discovered nearby in a 10-foot deep hole. The convicts will be sentenced May 31st.
If you know of a crime, please call Crime Stoppers at 328-8477, toll free 242-300-8477. You can also check them out on www.crimestoppersbahamas.com. Let's stop the crime before it's your time.